G'day team, welcome back to another video. So today we're going to extend on our non-right angled trigonometry and we're going to have a look at the cosine rule. So the cosine rule is used for finding unknown sides or angles given two sides and an included angle. Okay, so the formula can be written in three different ways, but if you remember one, you remember all of them. Okay, so a squared, so if we're looking at our reference diagram here, the length a squared is equal to the length b squared plus the length c squared minus 2 times by length b times by length c times by cosine of the opposing angle to the side we are finding. All right, so you always have the two known sides in the formula, the unknown side outside and the unknown side's opposite angle. All right, what we can do though, we can rearrange this equation for the angle that we know. So if we know all three sides, then we can find any angle. So let's do so now. So a squared equals b squared plus c squared, take 2bc cosine a. Now, we want cosine a by itself. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take away b squared and c squared from both sides. So now we're left with a squared, take b squared, take c squared, equals negative 2 times b times c times by cosine a. Now what I'm going to do, I want cosine a by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2bc. So now I'm left with cosine a equals a squared, take b squared, take c squared, divided by negative 2bc. Now, I don't like that negative on the bottom, and neither do just any mathematician really. So what are we going to do? We're going to multiply top and bottom by negative 1. So timesing top and bottom by negative 1 is like timesing by 1. So we haven't actually changed the value of our formula. So cosine a is equal to b squared plus c squared, take a squared divided by 2bc. Now, one way to remember what order to put things in, what angle you're actually going to find, is you're going to find the opposite angle to the side length that's taken away. All right, and that's the only time this side appears in this whole formula. All right, so as I said, if you're given all three sides, you can find any angle using these formulas. So that's the one we derived, and that's the same thing, but with the different sides. So if you just remember one of them, you can adjust it for whatever angle you want. So let's have a look at an example. So find A, length AB, so that's that length there. B, angle at CAB, so the angle at A, which is that angle there. And then finally C, finding the area. So going back to the last video using that formula there. So if we want to find length AB, we're going to use the cosine rule. So a squared equals b squared plus c squared, take 2bc cosine a. Now you might notice that we're actually finding little c if we're using our usual denotation, but that's okay. Remember, the formula works no matter what. So we have a squared, so I've actually called this little a here, all right? So a squared equals 6 squared plus 9 squared, take 2 times 6 times 9 times by cosine of 37 degrees. All right, so 37 degrees is the included angle between 6 and 9. So that's the angle we use. So putting this all into your calculator, a squared equals 30.75. A is equal to 5.55 centimeters approximately. Now, I know that we harp on when we take the square root of both sides, we need to put plus or minus, but when we're dealing with length, we reject that negative solution and we keep the positive. So that's part A done. Part B is finding that angle at A. All right. So we now look for our angle formula. So cosine theta equals b squared plus c squared, take a squared all over 2bc. Now, it is really important we get it right here. So we're looking at this angle here. So that means our negative a squared must be the opposite side. So it must be 6. The other two doesn't matter what order. So we've got cosine theta equals 9 squared plus 5.55 squared from the question above. Take away 6 squared. So this is really important. Divided by 2 times 9 times 5.55. So cosine theta is approximately 0.759. That means theta is equal to cosine to the power of -1, or inverse cos, to the ratio 0.759, which gives me an approximate angle of 40.62 degrees. All right, there's the angle done. Part C was find the area, so half AB sine theta. Doesn't matter what angle we use as long as we have the sides that make up that angle. So I've actually used all my whole numbers because it's super nice. Area equals half times 6 times 9 times sine of 37. Throw that all into your calculator and you find the area is 16.25 centimeters squared. All right, so that's a nice little example that ties together the cosine rule for finding the unknown side, cosine rule for finding the unknown angle, and then finding the area of a non-right angled triangle. Hopefully this has been helpful, and we'll see you guys next time.